Monday morning, it's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening here around the business world after the weekend. Of course, we took Friday off here at McCollum on Business. Appreciate you joining us here on this Monday again, and short week here coming up as well. Markets are closed at the end of the week. Obviously, July 4th holiday is coming up, 250th year of the United States rocking and rolling as well. But we'll be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, getting you updated on what's happening, like I said, around the business world. And let's get it all started here on this Monday with the Market Watch. And everything's up. Tech's up today, well, except for the Russell 2K and then Bitcoin. But stocks have risen for the most part due to tech gains out there. Now there was some hostilities, we'll say, over there in the Middle East over the weekend. That has halted here this morning as well. Oil did rise here. It's over $70 per barrel again, just barely, but it is rising here this morning based off of the war stuff that happened over the weekend. But oil is still near pre-war levels. Supply risk is a concern, and obviously any of these flare-ups that do happen. All that being said, Dow Jones right now is up 398 points to 52,153. The S&P 500 is up 62 points to 73,95. The Nasdaq also up today, 243 points right now to 25,541. And right now, Russell 2K is down 27 points, 2982. I can tell you that is trending towards a green number here coming up. This number on your screen here looks to be a little bit behind. It's still negative today, but it is trending toward even right now. We'll check on that, of course, coming up later in the program again. And then there's Bitcoin. Well, it's found a happy home here, under 60,000 since the end of last week. 59,361 for Bitcoin here this morning on Monday as well. And folks, stocks we're paying attention to, a lot of tech stuff happening today, or space things, I guess we can say. We're going to start first with Comcast. They are all the rage here this morning, 9.88% up right now. Well, Comcast announced that it's going to spin off its media portfolio, which includes NBC Universal and Sky as well. Sky's over in Europe. The spinoff is expected to be completed. It'll take about a year to get it done there. We'll see Comcast co-CEO Mike Cavanaugh stepping into the role of leader of NBC Universal. Former Comcast CFO will become chief of the telecommunications company as well. So Comcast spinning off their media portfolio. Their Comcast stock itself is up 9.32% up here today. Like I said, about a year for that to be completed here for those companies. Now we're going to look at a company, you know them as Rocket Lab, SpaceX competitors. They work with SpaceX. They launch things. Well, they're up 10.75% today, and it's pretty simple why. They announced that they're going to acquire a company called Iridium Communications. They do satellite phones, among other things. Rocket Lab said the merger will combine the company's launch capabilities with Iridium's satellite communications network. Now, Rocket Lab's up 11.31% based off this news. Throw up Iridium Communications for me as our third stock. You can see they're up 22.01% right now as well. So launch capabilities on Rocket Lab, Iridium Satellite Communications Network. This is a pairing kind of made for the stars, if you will. I know, stupid joke. Thank you. Be here all week. Both those stocks through the roof. Later on, when we come back and look at stocks, we're going to look at SpaceX out there. We're going to look at Charter Communications as well. They're a home internet provider making some waves today. We're going to look at Alphabet and also Verizon Communications today as well. So that'll be stocks we're paying attention to as the show goes on as well. But first, we told you oil slightly up above 70 today. Hostilities have ended there, of course, in the Middle East as well. And so we're going to move to what's happened here locally, or at least in the United States side of things. And President Trump doing some tariff talk as well again. President Trump came out at the end of last week, Friday afternoon, and he threatened to impose a 100% tariff on any country that implements a digital services tax on American technology companies. A la the one we talked about last week or a week and a half ago about France. He pointed to Europe, specifically where these are happening. He said countries have, quote, been discussing the imminent implementation or are close to actually putting those taxes in place. Digital services taxes are those fees levied on tech firms by countries where their products are used. So think Meta, all of our social media companies. Meta is a big one over there, Google, Alphabet, etc. The European Commission, well, they responded later Friday, arguing that they have sovereign right to negotiate economic activities on their territory in line with their democratic values and international commitments. Yeah, President Trump has the right to add 100% tariff onto your stuff because you do that. Earlier this month, if you remember, he threatened to impose that 100% tax on French wines because France has one of those taxes on tech firms. Remember, that was that 3% tax on revenues from digital services, online advertising, data collection that France has. Now, the other EU members trying to get in on that as well. And President Trump, well, sending some messages. He is not happy about that as well. And we've got some hard data here on the Affordable Care Act as well coming into us this morning. Remember the big talk at the end of last year with that government shutdown was, well, right, affordability, rebates, the tax breaks that you could get to go onto that. Well, we have hard numbers here because about 3 million fewer people here in the United States have ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act, health insurance plans. And this is as of February compared with the same time last year. So February last year as well. And they're getting this from federal data also. This is a report that was released Friday. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services suggested the 13% drop, so 3 million people in enrollment, went from 22.1 million people last year in February to 19.2 million this year in February. It could be attributed to that federal crackdown on fraudulent or phantom enrollment. They're saying that could be it, but health analysts are saying that it's more likely related to the expiration of the federal subsidies that were out there that caused the increase in the plan costs that resulted in many people being unable to pay their premiums. So all this new data compiled in April, but like I said, showing the February numbers in terms of coverage, it represents the government's first official look at how people's inability to pay their first bills this year affected total enrollment. So these figures capture the marketplace. Well, after a non-payment grace period expired, I think it's 30 days non-payment is what you get. So that would mean, February, but then March, January would be the first month of payment. And then, so if you look at the numbers in February, everybody that didn't pay for January would be off those rolls. A federal estimate in January showed about 800,000 fewer people had actually signed up for ACA plans compared with the same time in 2025. That was the first time in the past 4 years that enrollment had actually been down from the previous year at that point in the window, a shopping period. Now, the total number of people in the government healthcare program to continue to decline, it's expected to decline throughout the year to potentially to a low about 17.5 million people. That would be a significant drop for the government's subsidized health insurance program for working age people who do not qualify for Medicaid. And one of the reasons it drops every year, by the way, because people just stop making their payments, especially toward the end of the year. A lot of people will drop it because you got that month grace period where you still have your thing when you don't pay. So people will stop paying in October, then they'd have insurance through November, not have it in December, and then start up again in January. Save a little bit of money in that time frame. So we know it drops throughout the year, but now it's dropping earlier than normal as well. Yeah. Now, gig workers, farmers, ranchers, hairstylists, people without healthcare coverage, that they use the ACA and it's popular with those groups of people. And we're seeing less and less people with that health insurance as those numbers are out there. here this morning. And then interesting here, we always talk about how AI is taking jobs from the normal American out there. Raise your glass up a little bit today because AI loses one of those battles here as well. Yes. Yeah, and I you knew this was probably going to happen. It's happening a little sooner than we thought it would. Ford executives are saying that they've actually hired 350 veteran engineers to their company. Some of them were former employees, while others had been working at supplying supplier companies for Ford. Why did they hire them back? Artificial intelligence and automated systems, well, they just simply failed to deliver the desired quality level that they expected. Bloomberg gives us this reporting, and they notated Ford's chief operating officer. He told journalists that Ford had been relying more and more on automated quality systems, and they were getting disappointing results. So the company brought back technical specialists, and those specialists hunt for failure points before before a part ever reaches that plant floor. AI is not as good as they thought it would on savings. Now, Ford's vice president of vehicle hardware engineering added to these talks, and he said that they quote mistakenly we thought that just by introducing artificial intelligence and ingesting the design requirements that we had, that it would produce a high quality product. Turns out it didn't as much as the humans did. So they had to bring back some engineers and to work with AI. Let's be honest about this. It doesn't mean Ford's getting rid of AI, and all of that. They're not. What they're doing now is they're using these rehired employees as well to train younger staff and even reprogram the AI tools, and then probably for their jobs again moving forward. But I think the happy medium is going to be for these companies with AI. My guess is simple. You're going to have employees working with AI moving forward. You can't just rely strictly on AI. Ford just found that out with the rehiring. We'll see if it starts to be a trend maybe coming up as well. Now, Ford is saying that the rehiring seems to be paying off. Ford CEO, he came out and said that things are lowered warranty and recall costs by bringing these older employees back to work with AI as well. They're saying the less warranty, less recall notices, they brought hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to Ford. They've saved Ford millions and hundreds of millions of dollars here on cost by making this move. Ford also says they're the top spot among mainstream brands in the JD Power Initial Quality Survey released this week. So the all these companies right now relying on AI, saying it's going to save them and save them money. Well, Ford found out it cost them a lot of money out there. We'll have to see if that trend. I believe that trend is going to continue. I think the happy medium is going to be employees working with AI going forward. We'll have to see if I'm right on that or not. So far, Ford's proving me right. We'll see if anybody else does that as well. And go to the box office here. I went and saw Supergirl this weekend with yesterday, and I enjoyed the movie. It was pretty good. I'm not a comic book movie guy at all, and I enjoyed the movie completely. And now, Hollywood as itself is having its best summer since before the pandemic. Now, the annual box office is on pace to cross $10 billion for the first time in 7 years. So, since before the pandemic out there. Now, the season we're talking about for the summer, it runs from the first weekend in May through Labor Day. It's tallied $1.8 billion so far through yesterday, Sunday. That's down less than 2% from 2019 levels, just about a $30 million behind as well in that time frame. Industry analysts keep a close eye on this period of the year, the summer, because it accounts for about 40% of the total annual domestic box office. Most popular time is the summer, folks. Now, what's interesting about this summer, though, compared to the pre pandemic summers, there wasn't a blockbuster action film that started this summer, or, a superhero movie, except those types of movies. No, the first major hit of the season was Devil Wears Prada 2, followed by, then right after that, I should say, Obsession, and then Backrooms. If you don't know those two movies, they're two low budget horror films where YouTube creators made those two movies surprise hits in the box office here this summer as well. And then you got, Michael came out as well. The story about Michael Jackson, or his biopic, I guess is what they call it. It debuted in late April, which of course leads into the money in May. Those four films specifically, they've contributed about $850 million to domestic summer box office since the start of May. And again, not giant staple blockbuster movies, which is usually how the summer season starts. By the way, $850 million for those four movies. It's about how much Avengers Endgame had made for the 2019 box office during that same period. So now Toy Story 5 came out last weekend. It's obviously a huge boost, about $160 million, if I remember correctly. For that, 'cause we had that story last week as a franchise best opening for Toy Story 5. Now, you got these huge upside surprise movies. It's making for that stronger than expected domestic box office. Not only that, right? Project Hail Mary has had some legs after it came out. It was a big hit earlier in the year. Now, what it's doing is it's setting up for the second half of the year for these pre-pandemic levels. Right? As of yesterday, the 2026 box office, $4.4 billion domestically for the year. That's 15% behind the $5.2 billion the 2019 box office had collected during the same period. Now, you've still got Spider-Man coming out end of July. I think it's July 31st timeframe. The Odyssey opening here coming up. And that's going to get a big ticket because it was made for IMAX movies, which contribute a premium a ticket dollar to the box office. Of course, you got Doomsday coming up in December. So you still have some very large expected movies coming your way to hit that 2019 level coming up as well. And if you're a coin collector, even if you're not, it's kind of a cool deal. I like having just not rare coins, but I like just finding little fun little coins out there. Well, the U.S. Mint is releasing a bunch of coins here with rare designs, all, of course, for this weekend's 250th anniversary here of America. It'll have a 25-cent piece, so a quarter, and it gives Americans a once in a lifetime opportunity to discover a piece of history in everyday transactions. Only 250,000 of these 250th year 2026 Declaration of Independence quarters are being produced. It'll be randomly released into circulation. They'll support a July 4th privy mark on them as well. So that's how you'll notice them out there. This privy mark will be found to the left of President Thomas Jefferson, and it'll be on the face of the Declaration of Independent quarters that are being minted this year. Kind of see it there on your screen if you're able to watch us on the Jefferson side of it, just to the left there. On the reverse of these quarters, on the back side, you'll see the Liberty Bell. I call it the back side. I know. Is there a front and back? But it'll be complete with this iconic, of course, crack of the Liberty Bell. What the crack signifies, the fragility of a young nation at its founding. The quarters are being sent to banks and financial institutions throughout the U.S. It'll be available before July 4th. It is probably out there right now. Start looking for them on your quarters. In addition to that Declaration of Independence quarter, the U.S. Mint is marking 2026 with special pennies, of course, not for circulation, since pennies aren't circulated anymore. But they're also coming out with special nickels and dimes. By the way, they're both missing their usual symbol of peace on those. You get these quarters here we talked about. $50 coins redesigned for America's 250th anniversary. All those have either been released or will be available soon here in the year. So coin collectors, be aware. Search your quarters if you're still paying cash for stuff and you get quarters back. There you go, folks. Look for those out there as well. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, we have nothing special coming your way for the 250th anniversary. We're just going to give you the same show you've always seen out there. We'll keep it rolling here. We'll look at local stories. We got a new freeway coming to Maricopa County. It's official now because the Arizona Department of Transportation has their 5-year plan out there. We'll tell you about what's being called Route 30 for you West Valley folks. Something to look forward to and start soon, but it'll be completed in like 10 years or something. I'll give you those updates and details. And Folks, we'll just keep it rolling here. Just come on back. McCollum on Business, Monday edition. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, Monday edition. It's a shortened week here coming up. We'll be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Well, we're going dark as a studio on Thursday. Friday, of course, with the July 4th holiday. Markets closed as well here on this short week coming up here later on. As Friday's technically the holiday day for the markets out there. We'll be here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for, of course, McCollum on Business. The main event as well, and Pit Stop will be out this week as well. Last weekend in Sonoma, and then of course looking ahead to this weekend coming up in racing. IndyCar gets underway again this weekend as well. So Pit Stop out this Wednesday coming up for you as well. The only show off this week that's normally here. We're here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Pit Stop on Wednesday. Well, on Friday, the Real Matrix will be off this Friday, but last week's episode, The Last and the Charlie Kirk Saga, was put up last week. It is available, of course. All of our show is on demand on YouTube here, TME Media AZ, and on Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media. Go to that page. All the videos are there that we upload. Click on channels, pick the show you want, and it pops up a little bit easier to see there. But the last of the Charlie Kirk sagas are up there on Rumble from last Friday at noon. We appreciate everybody that catches that. I know the Angry Fan loves it a lot as well. Can't appreciate you guys enough for that. Free podcast system for the Real Matrix as well. Free podcast. Just search the Real Matrix with Angry Fan. Pit Stop, free podcast as well. Just search the Pit Stop with Steven. Pops right up for you on your favorite podcast system. Same thing with the main event. Search the main event or TME Sports Show. It comes up for you as well. Out there. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be here live. Main event live on all 3 days. Thursday, Friday off. No Real Matrix this week. Start up again next week as well. Follow TME Media AZ as well for all of the schedules. In case you're wondering or forget, share it with your friends. Get caught up on the YouTube page. Like and subscribe to it as well. We'd appreciate it very much out there. And with all that being said, let's get right back into that Market Watch. Good day here on the market. As you know, the festivities, I guess, that were happening, the hostilities over in the Middle East settled down over the weekend or today is what it's happened. And then oil prices ticking up a little bit today because of what happened over the weekend, but they are still near the pre-war levels, even though they are ticking up a little bit over $70 per barrel here today as well. The biggest thing for oil, I think, right now is the supply risks that are out there, because our supply reserves have just gotten low with war in Iran over there. That's kind of the next threat people are going to be looking at. But overall, market looking pretty good today. Dow Jones 400 points up right now, 52,151. The S&P 500 is up 45 points here today. The Nasdaq's up 149 points here on this Monday. Now the Russell 2K, I said it was trending positive. Well, it was. Now it just kind of went flat and plateaued here. 25 points down for the small cap index. I think from what I see, maybe might be happening here is I haven't been able to dig deep into it since I'm on air. But I think people are pulling their money out of the Russell 2K, those small cap indexes, putting them into these bigger tech companies, etc. Because tech is gaining today. We showed you in that first stock segment how everything is way up, and it's not going to change this time either. As Bitcoin though is down, it's still under 60,000, 59,319 for Bitcoin here this morning. And we know stocks in that Comcast, of course, we looked at earlier, Rocket Lab or Iridium Tech Communications, we looked at all up today. Well, we're going to look at SpaceX now as well. Well, NASDAQ announced on Friday that SpaceX would be added to the NASDAQ 100 index. Now, that's not going to happen until trading day on July 7th. It's going to happen before the markets open. So basically, putting SpaceX in the NASDAQ 100 could lead to a bunch of ETF buying demand for SpaceX as well. Yes, 0.67% down right now for SpaceX. Remember, it opened on the market, about 2 weeks ago now at $135. So still above that 135, but it has been hovering around 150 as it's come back down and kind of settled here at this 150, 151 level these last week or so there. And then a company called Charter Communications we're going to look at right now as well. Home internet provider, 14.91% up today. Well, Bloomberg reported on Friday, that the Charter Communications and SpaceX has held exclusive talks on a consumer phone product. So Bloomberg reporting said Charter could run some of SpaceX's consumer mobile phone traffic through its ground internet infrastructure. So with that news of working with SpaceX, or at least negotiating with SpaceX, Charter Communications up 15.12% here this morning on Monday. Next up, we got Alphabet for you. One of the Magnificent Seven stocks out there. Well, what's happening is it's trading for the first time today on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That also could be why we're seeing a larger number than normal on the Dow Jones. As Verizon was removed, Alphabet was put on. Alphabet obviously has a higher stock price, which we'll show you here in a second as well out there. So today, Dow Jones Industrial Average adding Alphabet, removing Verizon. So let's look at Verizon stock. Here's a bonus stock today. Verizon's down 5.77%. But you see, right, Google's trading at 300 and something dollars. Verizon's at $43. So you're going to see some little play here in the Dow Jones Industrial Average based off of those numbers. A 1% increase on Google does a lot for the market compared to, a 5 or 6% Verizon increase as well. Verizon, by the way, even though they're off the Dow Jones Industrial Average as of today, they're also down because they projected second quarter losses between $700 and $800 million. Now, Verizon came out with this estimate because the company is classifying businesses it's contributing to as part of a joint venture with UK-based BT Group. Well, they're calling those business interests as held for sale. So Verizon looking to unload that part of the venture. 6.02% down here today for Verizon Communications as well. So I hate leaving you on a negative note there, but it kind of just went to that story of Google is now on the Dow Jones and Verizon off the Dow Jones. And we're going to see some positive change there because of the dollar amount of Google stock compared to Verizon, but also the amount of volume that trades with Alphabet as well. I call it Google, but Alphabet as well out there. And get to some local stories. And if you're in the West Valley, well, you got a few years here. Construction's going to start in 2027, but you got a few years here before it's completed. But some relief here of the I-10 traffic nightmare you face every day coming into going east there on I-10 into downtown. The Arizona Department of Transportation has officially approved its 5-year plan. It's going to bring improvements to highways, of course, across the whole state of Arizona. But The first big thing that's going to happen, $11.3 billion worth of projects that'll begin construction in 2027 all over the state. But here in Maricopa County specifically, and I'm gonna ignore the rest of the state for a bit because you're getting some improvements, but obviously your issues aren't as big as that I-10 going into downtown Phoenix in the morning as well. But over in the West Valley, ADOT will begin construction of the new freeway, like completely new. It's called State Route 30, is what they're calling it. They're going to be designed to be a reliever to Interstate 10. So funding from this plan for Route 30, it comes from federal grants and a voter-approved sales tax. That's how they're paying for it. So the new state route will help to alleviate traffic there, like I said, of the I-10. Where it's going to be as construction for this will begin its first segment in 2027. Where it's going to be it's going to basically come off of the 85 freeway, run through all of this vacant or empty land right now by the Salt River and on that South River bottom and connect with that South 202 that comes up and connects at 59th Avenue. It's going to run that south route over the desert. It's all desert right now, where it's going over right there by the Salt River. That's where that Route 30 is going to go. Now, it starts in 2027. So from summer 2027 to summer 2030, it's basically they're going to start on the construction of 97th Avenue to the Loop 202, that South Mountain Freeway that cuts down south and connects with I-10. That starts 2027, expected to go to summer 2030. Then Dysart Road to 97th Avenue portion of that's going to be 2029 to 2031 is what that Dysart to 97th Avenue is going to be. Then Estrella Parkway to Dysart Road. That's going to be 2031 to 2033 for that section coming up. And then finally, Loop 303, which Loop 303 is going to be extended down to connect with this Route 30 as well. So it's not going to end at I-10 like it does now. So the Loop 303 to Estrella Parkway, 2033 to 2035 for that final stretch there. And then you'll have a South Freeway there. Well, basically, think of it along the Salt River, even though it doesn't follow it exactly. Think of it down there from the 85 or Loop 303, basically out there, and then into that 85, all the way to that South 202 there as well, and things. So that's the freeway they're going to start on, through 2035 if it's done on time. It should go fairly quickly for construction standards because it's all desert out there right now as well. So, new freeway coming your way there, and lots of upgrades and things for other freeways like I-17 up north and down south there in Tucson. You got some improvements coming your way as well, but that's the big one coming up here in Maricopa County as well. And then finally, we're going to the July 4th holiday. If you're like me, you're going to get out of town this weekend. Well, good news is I'm going to California, so I don't know how much cheaper it's going to be over there, but gas prices are continuing to go down here across the state of Arizona. The average price at the pump here is $4.11. I see a lot of stations, and even out by me, which tends to be a little bit higher, that's like 389, 385 type range over the weekend. It dropped down into that level. But that average in Arizona of $4.11, it is 84 cents higher than last year as of right now as well. So, we're getting some relief from what we've seen, but still high compared to last year's standards. Of course, we get all this reporting from AAA for those of you that want to double check us. Them or Gas Buddy, two best excellent resources for this information out there as well. Obviously, the dropping of the crude oil pricing down to $70 a barrel is leading to a lot of this, to the pre-war levels as well, even though there's still some uncertainty in that the war may flare up like it did this weekend. We're down in that $70 a barrel range. Today we ticked up just above it, but that's leading to the lower gas prices around town. So a little bit of relief this weekend if you're traveling up north or down south. I know a lot of people are going up north to Flagstaff or up north areas to escape the heat down here in Phoenix. And if that's the case, get some cheaper gas as you do travel. And like I said, until I get to California, I'm gonna see cheap gas. We'll have to see what happens once we get across that border there as well. And always fill up on the border. before you cross over into California and get as far as you can on those less prices here in Arizona as well. And folks, I appreciate you joining me here on this Monday edition. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday. We're here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. Make sure you join us. Of course, main event coming up 8 to 10 a.m. live here on YouTube as well, where we are live. Of course, everything on demand on Rumble, rumble.com/user/DME Media, as well as here on the YouTube as well. Stay tuned. Come and join us for the main event. If you can't watch us live, your boss is a slave driver. Well, first of all, we need to have a talk with them. Second of all, well, catch us on demand later on the day when you can, or listen to the podcast version, whatever you'd like. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Main event coming up next.